I'm Goldie. Picture this, I'm 30, hitched to a solid guy, Alex. He's got the reins of this family gig, a trading company that's been in his bloodline since before I was even an idea. I land a gig there not long after we tie the knot, slinging deals as a sales agent. And guess what? Figures shot through the roof the minute I started. Alex gets a kick out of it, always cracks the same joke. Babe, you didn't just bring love, you hauled in the big bucks too. So, there's your fairy tale start, right? But life's got a funny way of throwing you curveballs. Now, Mary, the mother-in-law, she's a piece of work, you know? And Cynthia, her daughter, she prances around like she's Queen Bee because she's got some fancy letters behind her name. It's my first dinner at their place, and I'm all dolled up, trying to make a good impression. We're sitting there, around this table that's too big for any sort of cozy conversation, and the third degree starts. So, Goldie, Mary starts, peering at me like I'm some specimen under a microscope. Which college did you grace with your presence? I tell her straight, went to state. Got my degree and learned a ton about the real world. She snorts, and there's this moment, brief as a heartbeat, where I see Cynthia trying to hide her own sneer. State, Mary echoes, like it tastes bad just saying it. And Cynthia, oh, she jumps right in, smug as a cat in the cream. An MBA from Harvard on my end, she flaunts, leaning back with this smirk that got under my skin in a real quick minute. I'm not one to back down, so I shoot back, cool, but it's what you got up here. I tap my head. That matters, not where you sat on your butt getting it. Their chuckles go cold, but I don't give a toss. I'm not there to play doormat to their uptown attitudes. Dinner wraps up, and I'm thinking, okay, rocky start, but we can smooth this over, right? Wrong. Next thing I know, Alex is getting an earful from Mary about how Cynthia, the golden child, should join us at the company. And it ain't just any old job she's vying for, she's shotgunning straight for my department's top spot. Well, she has an MBA from Harvard, Alex. Mary presses, stating the obvious like it's some trump card. She's perfect for head of sales. And what's nuttier is Alex actually caves. Before I can even protest, it's a done deal. Cynthia waltzes in like she owns the place, and here I thought we were playing fair in love and war. From day one, she's throwing her weight around, lips curled in this permanent sneer every time our paths cross. I get it, lady, you think you're hot stuff. But around these parts, you gotta earn your stripes, not just show 'em. It wasn't so much what she said, it's what she did, or didn't do. You get me? It's the coffee she'd let go cold when an intern brought it to her, the sideways glances and snide digs at my expense, the way she'd talk shop as if she's got years on me. Alex sees it, I know he does, but what's he gonna do? It's his mom and sis firing at him with both barrels if he steps out of line. I land at work, and it's like walking into a storm. Cynthia's there, perched at her desk like she's the captain of a ship. But here's the kicker, she ain't sailing, she's sinking us, one bad decision at a time. Take last Tuesday. I'm in early, coffee in hand, trying to keep things afloat, and in struts Cynthia, dropping her purse with a thud that says, I'm in charge. She calls me into her office, right? Sits me down and starts in with this list of orders that'd choke a horse. Goldie, see these files? She waves some papers at me, scattered like confetti. Fix them. And I need it yesterday. I'm staring at this mess and thinking, lady, you've done lost your mind. But I bite my tongue, nod, and get to it. Fast forward a couple of hours, and I'm untangling her knots, right? That's when Mr. Jacobs calls. This guy's big league, think whales in a sea of fish. I can hear the tension a mile away. What's this crap Cynthia sent me, Goldie? He barks through the line. I asked for projections, not preschool scribbles. I'm juggling phones, trying to soothe him. Mr. Jacobs, I got this. Give me an hour. I hang up, track Cynthia down, and she's there painting her nails like she's at a spa. Cynthia, you gotta double-check your work. Jacobs is ready to walk. She doesn't even glance up. Not my prob, Goldie. You handle it. So there I am, patching holes in a sinking ship while she's giving herself a manicure. I spend the whole day in damage control, but hey, I do love a challenge. And Jacobs? He's cool by the time we're done, thanks to yours truly. But it doesn't end there, oh no. You think she'd say thanks? As if. The next day, I catch wind of a meeting, right? Alex and Cynthia are at it, voices through the roof. I sidle up to the door, and who do I run into but Mary, listening in like it's the season finale of her favorite show. I'm about to step in, but she grips my arm, nails digging in like claws. Leave them, she hisses, all snake-like. This is family business. I wrench free, feeling her eyes on my back, and open the door. There's Cynthia, tears and all, playing up a storm. Alex, I'm trying, but Goldie's always undermining me. I'm floored. If her lies were dirt, we'd be buried alive. Alex is standing there, and I can see he's torn. He wants to believe his wife, but Sister Dearest is laying it on thick. I speak up. Alex, come on. You and I know that's a load of bull. Cynthia whips around, all drama. See? She points right at me, accusing like I'm the bad guy in some cheap novel. We're nose to nose, practically. You wanna explain, Jacobs, then? I challenge her, my voice level. Alex pipes up, tired lines around his eyes. Enough, both of you. I take a deep breath, ready to battle this out, but Mary barges in, cutting the air like a knife. Goldie's just jealous, Alex. You can see it. I'm about to say my piece, but it's like talking to a wall with those two, no, three. They've made up their minds, and I'm the villain in their fairy tale. It was a Tuesday, nothing out of the ordinary, until I got the call. Alex had a wreck. Some jerk ran a red and my world flipped upside down. The hospital, the blinking machines, Alex looking too still, it was like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I was in that hospital room, feeling like someone scooped out my insides. But here's the deal, which, trust me, made my heart sink even lower if that's possible. According to Alex's will, only a blood relative can take over the company. That should have been our kids, if we had any. Without them, it defaulted to his next of kin, which turned out to be his sister, Cynthia. So, just like that, I'm on the outside looking in. My husband isn't even cold, and already the wolves are circling. So while I'm drowning in grief, here come Mary and Cynthia, all pep and no sympathy, already divvying up the spoils before the battle's even done. Cynthia wastes no time throwing it in my face, right there in the hospital corridor. You see, Goldie, it's all clear-cut. Alex's will is as plain as day. Blood relatives only. With Alex. She trails off, like even saying coma would jinx her takeover. I could barely keep the snarl from my voice. So, what? You're dancing on his grave already? The man is fighting for his life. She just rolled her eyes, as cold as the sterile hospital walls. Business waits for no one, dear. It's unfortunate, yes, but we must think of the future. And as for you, she stepped closer. Well, you were just the wife. As I see it, you were never really part of the company, not like family. Mary nodded, her lips in a thin line. Cynthia's right. You have no children, Goldie. It was always going to be her. That was it. Their true colors, loud and clear. They didn't give a damn about Alex, only about what they could grab from his still warm hands. I walked away from them, my mind a chaos of grief and fury. I had to do something, but what? Every fiber of my being was woven into that company, into the life Alex and I had built. I wasn't just going to let them steal it. Days turned to weeks, and Alex didn't wake up. The company felt his absence like a missing limb, and Cynthia's reign didn't sit right with anyone, they all felt it too. One afternoon, Cynthia blocked my path by the copier, her arms folded over her chest. Still here, Goldie? I'd have thought you'd take the hint and leave with some dignity. I locked eyes with her, my back ramrod straight. Dignity? You wouldn't recognize it if it bit you. This isn't over, Cynthia. Her laugh was empty, but her eyes were sharp. Oh, it's over. It was over the minute that will was drafted. Alex's beloved wife or not, you're nothing to this company. Better start looking for a new job. I bit the inside of my cheek, tasting blood. We'll see. I turned on my heel and left her standing there. Her words were meant to cut deep, but they just fueled a fire in me. I wasn't about to roll over. The employees, they were with me, they knew where the heart of the company lay, and it wasn't with Cynthia. Day in and day out, I found myself in the same routine, pulling up a chair next to Alex's hospital bed after surviving another round of corporate warfare. The beep of the machines had become my unfortunate companion, the soundtrack to our one-sided conversations. Despite the coma, I'd tell Alex everything, hoping, praying he could hear me. Alex, you won't believe the circus your company's turned into, I'd start, my voice a low murmur, laced with fatigue. Your sister, she's taken over, bulldozed her way through the board, and camped out in your office like she's queen of the castle. She's axed Dan and Rita, just like that, because they wouldn't bow down. And the clients? They're jumping ship left and right. The Henderson deal, the one you worked months on, is dead in the water. They've had it with her. Each visit blurred into the next, the hospital walls absorbing my endless monologue, full of updates and frustrations. I'd scoff and curse, my tone growing bitter as I recounted the latest sabotage. And let's not get started on your mom, I continued, the bitterness in my voice growing sharper. She struts around the office now, tossing digs at me every chance she gets. When Alex wakes up, you're out, she sniped at me yesterday. As if I haven't poured my soul into this company too. I felt the sting of tears threatening to spill, talking to Alex's motionless form. My husband, the man who promised to tackle life's ups and downs with me, was silent, caught in an endless sleep. Yet, I clung to the sliver of hope that someday he'd crack open his eyes and we'd really talk. Then it happened, so unexpectedly it knocked the breath out of me. In the middle of a particularly tough rant about how his sister's latest stunt might be the downfall of the entire business, Alex's eyes flicked open. They found mine, and the corners of his lips turned up in what I knew was meant to be a reassuring grin. It was a bittersweet smile that didn't quite reach the old spark that used to dance in his eyes, but it was more than enough. Alex, you're back? Can you hear me? My voice cracked, a mix of joy and disbelief. Before I could let the moment get the better of me, his hand, stronger than I'd felt in ages, clasped mine, and he gave a near imperceptible shake of his head. It was a silent plea to keep this moment between us. You sly dog, I said, a laugh bubbling out of me in relief. We're keeping this our little secret then, huh? His smile said it all as he closed his eyes again, like this was just a brief break from his rest. But that grip on my hand didn't let up. I leaned in close. All right, Your Highness, we'll play it your way. We'll let them think nothing's changed. But you and me, we're gonna turn this around. Wait and see. Leaving the hospital that night felt different. There was something like hope, or was it defiance, brewing inside me. I'd go to the office tomorrow, face Cynthia and his mom, and act like it was all the same, all while knowing Alex was coming back to me. Days turned into weeks, holding in the secret like clenching a fist around a live wire. That wire jolted out of my hands the day I got called to the lion's den, or what used to be Alex's place before Cynthia turned it into a sort of throne room for her ego. I walked into that office, a storm brewing in my chest. Cynthia was perched on the edge of Alex's desk like she was waiting for a parade in her honor. Mary lounged in a corner, looking all smug. Time to hit the road, Cynthia tossed the words out without even looking directly at me. She had the termination papers already laid out like she was dealing cards at a shoddy casino. Mary piped up from her corner with that gravelly voice of hers, with Alex out of the picture, Cynthia's running the show. I was one twitch away from telling them where they could shove those papers, but I clenched my fists, instead, teeth grinding. And just like some Hollywood timing, the door swung open with a bang. There was Alex. He looked rough around the edges, but still standing, still breathing, still mine. Cynthia's face dropped like she just swallowed a bug. Alex didn't miss a beat. "Cynthia, get out of my chair." He spat the words out. His voice held less of its usual command, sure, but it had a bite. My eyes could barely peel away from him, but I had to see Cynthia's reaction. Her face twisted like she was chewing on glass. "What the, Alex? How are you?" Alex cut her off. "Standing? Talking? Surprise, sis. I'm not as gone as you hoped." Mary tried to back her daughter up. "This isn't happening. He's supposed to be drooling in a bed?" "Yeah, well, life's full of surprises." Alex snapped back, his eyes never leaving Cynthia. "Now, off my chair. We're going to have a real nice chat." Cynthia stood, stumbling a bit like her legs were made of wet noodles. "You can't just come back and what? Take back my company?" "Oh, I think I can," Alex interrupted, moving closer to his desk. I stepped forward, standing next to Alex. "The two of us. United front." "Yeah, Cynthia." I pitched in. "Hurling people out on their asses is your specialty. Time to see how it feels, huh?" Cynthia clenched her jaw so tight I could hear her teeth grind, while Mary was still trying to process the scene, looking like her software crashed. "Alex, you're sick. I need my company back. You two," he waved a dismissive hand at them. "You're done here." Cynthia's face was now the color of rotten tomatoes. "I'll call the board. They won't stand for this." Alex looked over at me, a knowing glint in his eye. "The board's in on it, aren't they, babe?" I nodded, barely holding back a smile. "Yep. Heard from them this morning. They're thrilled you're back. Even sent flowers." Cynthia still tried to have the last word. "This isn't over, Alex." "No, it is. For you." Alex's words cut her off, as short and final as a door slam. Cynthia's eyes flitted between Alex and me, the defeat finally sinking in as she grabbed her mom's arm. They left, not with the whiff of victory but with tails between their legs. Then, it was just us, alone in the room that had seen more drama than a daytime soap. "You played it well, Alex. Had me scared too," I managed to say, my voice shaking off the last bits of worry and fear. He slumped into his chair, looked up at me with those eyes I fell for. Had to make it believable. Couldn't let them ruin everything we've built. I took his hand, a surge of pride washing over me. They didn't. And they won't. Alex's grip on my hand tightened, the fight still there. Time for some damage control. I shot back, more like a full-on fixer-upper. But together, we'll patch it up. Alex laughed, that familiar sound, but this time it was a little more victorious. I laughed too. It was over, this round at least. We were back in the game, Alex and I, ready to rebuild and face whatever came next. The office was humming like a kicked anthill when I walked in, fresh energy lighting up the place. With the dead weights cut off, Alex's office felt like a command center ready for a new mission. His recovery had flipped the switch on our future, and we were gunning the engine hard. I found Alex in the middle of the fray, barking orders to the team but with a grin that said he was back to his old self. "Okay, team. Let's not waste any more time," he said. "We've got a whole chunk of backlog to clear and new deals to chase." I leaned against the doorframe, watching my husband rally the troops. He caught sight of me and winked. "Hey, you're part of this too. Roll up your sleeves." Chuckling, I walked over. "Do I get a title for this or just the usual Alex's better half?" He chuckled. "How about co-captain?" Co-captain rang out well, so I nodded. "Co-captain, reporting for duty." Turning to the team, Alex made introductions. "Everyone, meet the co-captain of this ship. She steered it through the storm while I was out." The team clapped, and a few here's rolled through the group. It felt good, really good, like we were a family that had weathered the worst. As the team dispersed to get back to work, I sat down with Alex. "So, what's the game plan?" I asked, comfy in the swivel chair I had commandeered. "We're shaking the tree, babe, ditching the bad apples that Cynthia brought in." Alex sounded pumped. There were spreadsheets all over his desk, plans scribbled on paper. I pointed to the papers. "Hiring new blood?" "Yep. And we're putting money into developing our team. Training, seminars. No more throwing them in the deep end," he replied, highlighting a section that said team growth. I added, "Not just survival of the fittest, then." Alex shook his head. "Nah. It's about thriving, not just surviving." We both knew the buzz in the office was more than just people being busy. It was hope, rebooted and recharged. Then my phone buzzed. It was a message from Ted, our old supplier. "Hey, he's asking about the contracts. Should we bring him back in?" Alex paused for a moment. "Yeah, I think it's time. He was with us since the start. Let's not ditch loyalty." I nodded. "Loyalty pays. I'll draft up something nice and comfy." The word comfy had Alex grinning. He knew that meant terms good enough to lock Ted in tightly. Just as I was about to get up and get to it, Alex grabbed my hand. "Hey, I never got to say it properly, thank you. For not giving up when I was, well, you know." I squeezed his hand. "No need for thanks. It's us against the world, right?" "Right," he confirmed, and we locked eyes in a moment of silent understanding, the kind that said we were a team, through thick and thin. My phone vibrated. It was Cynthia, rambling on about another blown job interview. "They don't get it, you know? I'm leadership material. They want me to start from scratch." "No way." Alex overheard and shook his head. "She needs to start at the bottom, learn to crawl before she can boss around." I nodded. "Right. But try telling her that." Cynthia wasn't the only family headache. Alex's mom was a constant buzz in our background, mad about the money tap getting twisted shut. She called again, and Alex glanced at the phone, letting it ring out. "Your mom again?" I asked, already knowing the answer. He sighed. "Yep. She's been blowing up my phone since I stopped the cash flow." The memories of them assuming the worst when Alex was sick, bordering on vulture circling, stayed fresh. Alex finally picked up on the fifth ring, keeping it clipped. "Mom, it's done. You've got to deal with it." The line got real loud, real quick. His mother's voice shrilled through, but Alex held his ground. When the call ended, he was tired but firm. No more free rides. I wrapped an arm around him. "You okay?" He nodded. "Yeah, it's just draining." "Let's not let them spoil tonight, okay?" I suggested, wanting to steer clear of the drama for once. "Agreed. Besides," he said, "there's something better to talk about." His hint hung in the air, and I smiled. "A baby?" He smiled back, full of hope and love, his eyes lighting up at the possibility. Shifting gears from family drama to our own little unit felt like the right move. The notion of a kid, of starting fresh with our own small tribe, seemed to seal the deal on the new beginnings front. Turning off the lights, locking up the office that was once a battleground, we left for the day, hand in hand, a team thinking about adding a new member. Beneath the calm of making plans for the future, there's that undercurrent of family strain. But it's getting easier to let their calls go to voicemail, to ignore the bitter texts. We're not cold, just done. Done with the guilt trips, the scrambling to appease. It's about our little family now. And maybe, just maybe, this fresh start isn't just a new chapter in the business. Driving home, I sat with that thought, thumbing the little baby shoes we'd impulsively bought, a symbol of hope, of new life. "So, about baby names," Alex started. I smothered a laugh. "Already?" He shrugged. "Never too early." The streetlights flickered past, each one a beacon in the easy silence of our drive, each one guiding us away from the chaos and towards something better.